Jordy Smith, Caitlin Simmers, and Jack Robinson get to do a couple of laps in the lineup here at Cloudbreak in the lead up to a big world title day at the Lexus WSL Finals Fiji, presented by Cero. Incredible water patrol on the Red Bull skis, and Jack will be out there in a moment. Brought a fresh quiver of Erica Arakawa's along with Sharp Eye surfboards. He's got a lot of decisions to make in the lead up to finals day. Joe Chappelle, Richie Lovett, a man that's done a lot of big things in surfing, winning lowers, Haleiwa, and being a good overall bloke, man. Good to see you again, Rick.
Good to see you, Joe.
How good is this practice session? Italo went to town. He got the win. I mean, we're not really scoring it, but
unofficial win. He got it.
He went for the win in that one.
Yeah, closely. I'm going to say close second was Griff. He got some really good waves. I was stoked to see the height of the waves actually jump a little bit towards the back half of that first practice session, but they were on fire. Like, Italo was going for it. I was a little concerned when he pulled into that barrel and almost looked like he got winded. Just sort of grabbing at his ribs there. So hopefully, nothing, not a big injury sustained, but definitely, got the wind knocked out of him for sure.
Colapinto gets out of the water, makes room for the big man, Jordy Smith. Longest serving member on the championship tour, rookie season back in 2008, still surfing like the heart of a grommet. Bringing the whole family out here. He's got two young boys, and they've been surfing Kittyland last couple of days on the inside of restaurants. So Jordy taking his time to get his feet wet here. He's got some good people around him. His parents are here. He's got his like a best friend and mentor / coach in Garth Tarlow. That's always by his side at big events. And the story of Jordy started really early in the piece for us this year. Seeing him just inspired, pretty cheeky in his post-heat interviews at Pipe as well. But you could just tell the joy was there in just riding waves. He just simply put it to that. He just said he's still a surf dog at heart, and he has no plans of retiring anytime soon, and we're lucky for that.
No, why would you? This is what he loves to do. This is the passion. This is what he was born to do, and surf. He's still competitive. He's still got the desire to win. So, you're a long time retired. Make it count while you're there. And Jordy's still winning events. He's had an incredible 25 season. Started off with that 17th and 9th. Was kind of looking like just another kind of season for Jordy. But then he got the win in El Salvador, and that really kicked things off. Backed it up with that, a couple of fifths. And then he got another win at Margaret. So, that really, for him, that was the moment at Margaret River where he was like, okay, hang on a minute. Final five's in the radar. I'm looking at potentially challenging for a world title here. So, Jordy's been very vocal in saying that, he just loves to compete. He doesn't really feel the pressure that much. He's like, man, I'm doing what I love to do. I'm getting paid. I'm surrounded by good people. I get to... at this stage in my career, I've really don't have that much to prove. A world title would be great, but at the end of the day, I turn up on competition day, I put the jersey on, and I just want to totally annihilate whoever I'm competing against. And, I think about Jordy's career. I think about all the highlight moments, all the wins at the special locations, obviously, J-Bay and Sunset and other places like that. He's one of those generational surfers that is a favourite, is in many top 5 picks of surfers globally, and it's because he's got it all. The power, the style, the flair, the innovation, the progression. Some of his movie parts, even a decade or two ago, they were phenomenal. They were the benchmark for where surfing was at that time. And to still see him competing now at this age, it's kind of obviously inspired by what Kelly's done. And, great to see him here. This is probably his best chance at a world title at this latter stage. We don't know whether he'll be in this position again. But, definitely a sentimental favourite. And I'd be stoked to see him win the title.
Surf fans maybe have been more emotional than they're used to being this year watching Jordy turn in the performances that he has in his 18th year on tour. There's Jack wearing green, staying focused. His answers in post-heat interviews have gotten shorter and shorter in the back end of the year. It's not something that we're not used to seeing. However, he brought it in Tahiti when he had to go all the way to win the event, to create this spot, to try to get a world title. He was outside the final 5 at Tehupo'o, had 4 rounds to surf through, and did it. Beat a couple of guys that he might have to deal with, like Griffin Colapinto in the final, and he's certainly going to have to deal with Italo again like he did at Chopes at the last event of the regular season.
Yeah, it was amazing. One of the most incredible come-from-behind victories we've seen. Clutch to push a couple of his buddies out of the way and make it to that final 5 position. And if he goes on to win the title here, it'll be one of the greatest come-from-behind stories we've ever seen in pro surfing history, in my mind. And we saw him take that Yoda status to another level in Tahiti, and nothing was going to derail him from that. And I think we'll see him bring that energy here to Cloudbreak.
Great opportunity to talk surf forecast with lead forecaster from Surfline, our good friend Kevin Wallace, joins us in the practice session. Kevin, thanks for calling.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here, boys. Nice to see some fun waves, too.
Yeah, really fun. I wish we were out there, to be honest. But hey, we'll get our chance, Kevin. Anyways, you did say it was going to be a little bit lully today in this performance size. As far as your forecasting goes, and as you're taking notes, everything looking like it's going to plan of what you thought the waves would be like today?
Yeah, it's just this small swell, obviously. The interesting thing about Cloudbreak to me is it doesn't take much swell to actually have decent size. You look at this swell, it's like a 2-foot deep water swell, but it's longer period, 16 seconds. So it's on the wave face, it's double, almost triple the size of the swell, which is that always fascinates me to see something like that at Cloudbreak. And it's one where you really look for some of these swells, some of these storms that are like way over in the Indian Ocean or the Southern Ocean, because it doesn't take much for Cloudbreak really to get pretty good on some of these smaller but long period swells.
Really fun day right now to warm up. We're watching Jordy Smith get his first wave of his practice session today. Getting down the line, he'll step off. So good to see Jordy as a number 2 seed, and already loving our chant with Kevin Wallace. Kevin, hey, you always send us these amazing maps from Surfline. Let's roll the tape, and why don't you walk us through the official forecast for this event?
All right.
Well, let's stand by. We got a little throw tail we want to watch from Jack. And he'll track back into the pocket. Nice performance on his warm-up wave here. He's got a mix of boards to choose from. Arakawa he won on in Tahiti and brought a bunch of brand new sharp eyes. Matty Bemrose brought some extras over, and looks like no waves being ridden. Let's go ahead and roll the tape. Surfline forecast. Kevin, walk us through it.
There we go. Okay. So the thing we're going to be watching over the next couple of days is just all the activity in the Tasman Sea and then the swell that was over the Indian Ocean, basically right now and over the next couple of days. But the majority of our surf is going to come from these Tasman Sea flows. That's going to set up surf next week, starting Sunday afternoon, but really filling in kind of the beginning through middle part of next week. So today, just fun. We got trades this morning, coming up a little bit this afternoon, head high-ish or so. That gets smaller as we move through the weekend. Actually, pretty much as small as it's going to get at Cloudbreak ever by the end of Saturday afternoon into Sunday. And then things pick up again. Picking up Sunday afternoon, that new pulse salt comes up, fills in further on Monday, and then looks like Tuesday is likely going to be the largest surf of the event window. That'll be from one of those Tasman Sea storms, kind of a mid-period swell, 12 to 13 second energy, probably be around a 6 to 8 foot swell. So you're looking at overhead to up to about double overhead surf at Cloudbreak. Looks a little bit smaller than it did a few days ago. The beginning of this week, it looked like it would be pumping, kind of not too big for Cloudbreak, but like one of those washy swells where it's not really breaking on the first ledge. It's kind of breaking on the outer ledge, but kind of washing through. And competitors probably get a tour of the tower a couple of times. So that's a big reason we're looking at restaurants too. Number one, the shorter swell period. Restaurants loves that shorter swell period. The direction and then the wind as well looks like it could be favorable for restaurants. We could see puff of onshores come up through the day on Tuesday out of Cloudbreak, but restaurants have to probably be light variable and potentially glassy conditions. So no bad. I don't think there's any bad choices here, but right now I'd say this is probably a better spot for restaurants than it is for Cloudbreak.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, that has been the huge talk around the islands of going, hang on, restaurants might be in the mix, and also finding out that things potentially could be shifting in those last couple of days of the waiting period. What are you seeing comparing September 2nd to the last day of the waiting period, September 4th?
Yeah, the second right now still looks like a bigger day than the 4th. The thing that I like about the 4th, and this is specifically would be for Cloudbreak, would be the swell period is a little bit longer. We'd have a mixture of swells. We'd have another Tasman storm that would be kind of 13 to 14 seconds. But we'd have something similar to what we have today too, maybe a little bit bigger, where we've got some small but long period energy that would be filling in, and then the potential for trades to kick in kind of all day on Thursday as well, where like Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll probably end up seeing a period of onshore winds, around the middle of the day, where Thursday we at least have the potential for all-day trades and more clean and groomed conditions. So a little bit smaller, but potentially a little bit better on Thursday when we're just looking specifically at Cloudbreak. If it's going to be a restaurant day, I think Tuesday is still the day for restaurants.
And touching on the wind pattern again, Kevin, for us, from really focusing on September 1st through the 4th, what are you seeing there? Are those going to be consistent trades?
Not consistent trades. It'll be one where the wind's probably going to be all over the place. Monday the 1st looks like it will be trades, particularly at Cloudbreak. The interesting thing too is even though Cloudbreak and restaurants are not very far apart, mile and a half apart, something like that, they can have very different winds. It can be like honking trades out of Cloudbreak and basically light variable at restaurants, and they can be all over the place. So a really complex wind pattern or wind regime that can set up for both spots. So looks like probably trades on Monday for Cloudbreak, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, almost like a light variable pattern where you get that offshore land breeze in the morning out of the east, really nice conditions in the morning, and then roughly midday you get a little bit of an onshore wind before trades may kick back in at the end of the day again. And then that's actually great. That can actually be great for restaurants. That midday where wind just goes slack, and actually good for all the breaks kind of around Tabarua and Namotu, where things just clean up and you potentially get classic conditions.
Kevin, just wanted to touch on the tides, something we haven't spoken about yet. How are they lining up for early next week? Are the coefficients big in terms of high-low? And what sort of tides, if any, are favourable for Cloudbreak and then restaurants?
Yeah, I think we don't. I don't know the specific tide times, Rich, but the extremities of the tide, so to speak, aren't that bad. We're not at new or full moon, which is when we see our most extreme tides. So there wouldn't be a ton of water moving around. Cloudbreak can be kind of good on any tide. It tends to be best on low to medium, but it's dependent on the swell and wind and everything like that. It can be good at all times. Restaurants, to a degree, is like that too. It just gets super sketchy when the tide's really low. Obviously, it's really, really shallow, and you get coral heads sticking up and just dry reef out there. So these guys and gals can handle that low tide, but I don't want any part of it when it's low tide.
Yeah, restaurants gets very sketchy on low. Actually, Richie was talking about that earlier, actually seeing the coral heads popping out of the water on the takeoff on the slab. That's really exciting news, Kevin, having two world-class waves, which could be called up for the world title race. We were talking about the bathymetry earlier, and we stick to that topics a lot when we go to Teahupo and Tahiti because it's such a severe slab. For Cloudbreak, it's such a big playing field, but how does the bathymetry really take in the swell, and what are the periods that it really likes to be at its best?
Yeah, Cloudbreak shares some similarities with Chokes in that, if you go, I think, about 2 miles offshore from what we're seeing now, it does drop off significantly. It's a couple thousand feet deep, just a little ways offshore. So you get that, like a similar type of power that you would see like on the North Shore, like you'd see in Tahiti, where most of that open ocean energy just remains intact. And then as the swell moves into the nearshore environment, this reef, Cloudbreak is basically like an underwater point, right? This kind of long, perfectly tapered reef where, Tahiti chokes, it's kind of this little bend and little notch in the reef that even makes it rideable. Very short, very intense wave, only a couple to a few second rides, where Cloudbreak has this much longer, point style wave that is able to, just suck in any energy at all, and particularly long period. It will just suck in and magnify even, relatively small swells and create big surf. So it's a freak of nature. It's one of the most incredible waves in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty cool too. It's kind of feels like a relative of Tahiti in some ways, like a distant cousin. When you think about it as well, I guess with a southerly angle at Cloudbreak, it kind of has that almost point break effect. And when you add that more west, it gets more nuclear and the wave gets thicker. And that's an interesting comparable as well, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when it's really west, you'll get those sets that'll swing wide and just go crazy down through the shish kebab section of the reef, and maybe miss the ledge section. But it's such an interesting playing field. It's somewhat akin to like Sunset Beach in Hawaii, where it's this massive reef and got all these different personalities on different swell periods in different directions, and it's a perfect wave in its imperfectness a lot of times, I think. Where restaurants is like this machine and it breaks in the same spot every time. And you could set your watch to it. Cloudbreak offers some different challenges. It's still a perfect wave, but it does some funky things that can throw you off here and there too.
Well, Kevin, before I let you go, I always love talking about historical data, and for you personally, as loving your job for a very long time, any significant swells in your time forecasting that Cloudbreak that stand out as some of the most memorable that you've forecasted over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one was the 2012 Welcome swell. I don't know how anyone can forget that. I think, I still say that wave that Healy got caught inside of, and you see his board drifting up. Like, to me, I think that's still the single most impressive wave I've ever seen. So that was, that one is at the top. But I was fortunate enough to be on Tabarua for a number of the events, kind of through the 2010s, and being able to see many of them and being able to surf and talk to guys like John Roseman and Dave Clark and all the boatmen. And just pick up little bits of knowledge. It's been invaluable, and really grateful I had the opportunity to do it.
Awesome. Always love our chats, Kevin. Thanks for calling in. Hey, we're going to bug you tomorrow if you don't mind. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll chat soon.
All right. Cheers, boys. See ya.
Kevin Wallace, Director of Forecasting over at Surfline, in love with his job, great surfer, loves this event. It's special to his heart, and he's got some great news for us, man. Coming around the corner, we've got options, where we kind of were just thinking Cloudbreak, all year long. And all of a sudden, stars are aligning for a possibility at restaurants, and that happens all the time at these events. When you come here, you're imagining maybe scoring restaurants. It's more common. You'll get heats at Cloudbreak, and now we'll have a hard decision to make of two perfect waves on the day.
Yeah, and I think, the day will tell the tale. We'll get up, we'll check it out, we'll have eyes on Cloudbreak, we'll have eyes on restaurants, and we'll make that choice. But as a competitor, you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You can't just, preconceive what's going to happen, because it's such an unknown. You can think, Cloudbreak, and you can try and anticipate what it's going to be like, but until you get up that day and actually, moments before you paddle out into the lineup, that is what you're going to face. So you got to be ready for anything, and this is where all this training and all this sort of pre-practice, pre-heat preparation comes into play. It's going to be interesting.
Richie, love it. First of all, longtime competitor. Your personal preference if you're competing. Would you rather be at restaurants or Cloudbreak on the day?
No, I would definitely rather be at restaurants. For me, just the more mechanical nature of that wave. For me anyway, just on the backhand, being able to just kind of sit in the tube with a little bit more precision. The unpredictability of Cloudbreak is it's a riddle, and being able to take that out of the equation and have just less variables, let's say, involved in restaurants. So that'll be my pick.
Let's go through this practice session. Cloudbreak restaurants, if you see any of them having an edge on either venue, let's start off with Molly Picklum. Is it going to matter for her? Would you think she'd rather be at one or the other?
100% Molly. I feel like she wants it out here at Cloudbreak. She is just so capable in these sort of bigger open ocean swells. It almost kind of matches her personality and where she's from on the central coast of Australia, of New South Wales, Australia. You know, it's that real kind of grit, no nonsense sort of an area, and that's how she likes to surf. The bigger the conditions get, the faster she's going to stand up and go, yep, let's get it. You know, we've seen so many standout performances from her at like Pipeline and Tahiti. She's just so capable when there's juice and where there's a swell of confidence and consequences, so much energy in the swell. So I feel like she'll be like gunning for it to be a big cloud break. I'm not taking anything away from her at restaurants, but I just feel like she'll have an edge out here.
Molly Picklum, world number 1, into this event for the first time. Last 2 years, she felt the form out at lower trestles and was able to finish equal 5th both years, even had a heat with Katie Simmers in Southern California. So she got a taste of the format, how quick it moves, but this is certainly her best season to date. Katie comes into this as the reigning world champion and world number 3. So she'll have some work to do before she might be able to get to Molly Picklum on the day. Being the youngest world champion, and they both shared the water together in the final, a historical final at Teahupo. For Molly, she was making all of her waves, and poor Katie was dealing with the entire ocean landing on her head. And it was a statement, though, from both of them. Simmers was ready to put her head down and go, and she had a very brave approach for the last final of the regular season. As we will catch up with Italo Ferreira on the boat with Ronnie Blakey.
Okay, just coming in from that first warm-up session, the number 5 seed, Italo, mate, good to get back in the surf again. How was that?
Always fun. Have some waves, and then that was pretty nice to warm up with the boys. We had a couple moments, couple sets, and then we did everything on the water, so it was nice.
We've got to talk about last night, Fiji night on Tavarua Island, a beautiful celebration, but it also felt like that might be the end of the pleasantries, and now it's time to get serious. Did you feel that?
Yeah, for sure. Last night was pretty special, you know. We had dancing with the local, and then they always welcome, you know, and it's pretty nice to have all those vibes, and then now it's try to focus a little bit, but we still have a couple days, and let's do it.
You came in on the tail end of that last swell, so this has really been your first opportunity to get reconnected with your equipment, feel out any niggling in. How's the body feel and how's the board feel under feet?
Feeling good right now. Yeah, I had like an injury in Tahiti, and then that's why I went back to Brazil and then tried to recover, and then I missed the last swell, but yeah, I have opportunity to surf a couple of days before start the comp, so it'll be good always.
I loved your arrival to this warm-up session. You put your jersey on and bang, you jump straight off the front of the boat. No easy entry in the lineup for you. Obviously, you're still really loving this opportunity to chase down your second world title.
Yeah, I'm feeling super confident, you know. I'm confident in myself, and then it's always fun to have an opportunity to fight for a world title, you know, and then this year it's gonna be a special year for sure, and then I'm so happy, so glad to live in this moment, enjoy all those time with the guys, and then can't wait to the day of that we can start the game.
We love watching you surf, mate, bringing the energy. You've been in number 5 before, you've gone all the way to that world title showdown. Feeling good about your chances this year?
Yeah, for sure. I feel good on the water, but not on the boat. Yeah, I feel kind of like sick, but that's why I'm gonna go back to the island right now. And then we have one more session on the afternoon. So I'm pretty excited, and then let's do it. Yeah.
Thanks so much for chatting with us, mate. Let's get you back to the island.
Thank you, Ronnie. Great to hear from a world champion, Italo Ferreira, blitzing the first 3 events of the season, a semi-final at Pipe, winning in Abu Dhabi, runner-up in Portugal for his 3 best results of 2025, and comes in as the number 5 seed. He'll have Jack Robinson in that opening match as we look at a backhand float from the reigning world champ, Katie Simmers. Sneaks out of the inside. Molly wants a piece of this next one. Glassy, fun section just to lay down a nice snap in the pocket. She'll let go of it. See how shallow it is on that end bowl. Seeing the warm-ups from Molly and Katie, they've given us some fireworks in the last couple of years. And a little backhand snap off the top. Bettylou looking to get to this inside, throwing another clean re-entry there, and still punching away. Jack Brombo on the next one.
Yeah, Jack streaking down the line, a really quick snap, and then the second one doesn't quite make it, but there was so much speed in that first turn. It was almost like a little check turn, but just stabs it up high in the lip. So much speed. You can see he's just in, you know, he's not firing on all cylinders right this second. He's just taking this warm-up pretty easy. Just feeling it out. This is cute, Cloudbreak, really.
Yeah, and I guess when we get back to that conversation, if it's giant, scary conditions, that's where you're looking at Jack to really set the pace on those really scary days where you've got fear inside of you, and he just stays so locked in and really has a separation from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's just a product of his upbringing and the Western Australian power. You know, that raw open ocean energy. He's just so comfortable in it, and it kind of reminds me of you know, the Irons brothers and Shane Dorian, the greats that, you know, when I was on tour, I would come out at places like Cloudbreak or Teahupo'o, and you know, it'd be 8 to 10 foot, and those guys just were so comfortable. They looked like they were in tune with it. They looked like they had no fear. And Jack kind of reminds me of that energy that those guys had, and you know, he's a proven performer in the heavy water waves. So again, when you look at preferred breaks, I would say Jack is going to want it out here at Thundercloud, and I think he'll be, you know, don't get me wrong, he's going to be equally as dangerous at restaurants, but you know, I think the playing field or the odds tend to even up a little bit when you look at that matchup between Jack and Italo. If it goes to restaurants, but out at Cloudbreak, you know, I feel like Jack is going to feel really comfortable.
Big hope on the men's side for Australia to get another world title. It's been since 2013 since Mick Fanning won that third world title. Big shout out to Ethan Ewing for another stellar season on tour, just getting bumped out of the final five at the last event of the regular season.
Yeah, well, we've had, you know, Jack and Ethan have really been the big title hopes in the spotlight the last couple of years, and you know, Ethan came close. You know, his surfing at lowers the last couple of years has just been incredible. Jack is, you know, he's had moments in those final five moments at lowers, but I feel like, you know, his chances really improve here in Fiji. You know, of course, we have the likes of, you know, Connor O'Leary and other Australians who are starting to get into that conversation as well. But really, Jack and Ethan have been flying the flag for the Australians.
All these guys get supported by the best surfboard builders in the world. A big congrats to Matt Biolas, 3 years straight, dominating the Vista CT Shaper rankings with an incredible field this year, adding some insane talent like Aaron Brooks and Bettylou before the season kicked off. Look at all those points accumulated. That comes from a lot of hard work and dedication. Gian, team manager, a really nice guy, man. He has so much support for everybody in their squad, and congrats to that entire stable from not just San Clemente, but their global squad as well for going 3 in a row.
Yeah, incredible team, and it is a village, I guess, that creates these boards. You know, Matt, obviously the skipper, the guy with the design and all the shaping know-how. But, you know, we can't forget the sanders, the glasses, the guy that puts the fins in, everyone, you know, who touches these boards. There's a lot of people involved in creating these, you know, these Ferraris, basically, for these surfers. And, you know, I think majority of the Lost crew would be on a Driver 3 or some derivative of the Driver 3. It's been a very successful model. Word on the street is that there's a new model coming out for Lost towards the end of the year, and there'll be more on that coming down the line. I think Yago's behind that one, but here we go, bit of live action here. Molly Picklum in the yellow jersey, just pushing it hard. Perhaps just, you know, finding that little sweet spot where she wants to be able to compete. Just trying a few different things. Extra little bit of emphasis and energy on those backhand re-entries. Of course, on the DHD program. And her board's looking really good under feet. She's been just incredible all year. You know, those big standout maneuvers that she's been able to do. That one at J-Bay, an incredible turn on the forehand. It's those big, high-risk moments where she really stands up and wants to make it count.
Doing a great job this year being in the yellow jersey. Doing a great job this year as well. Always are the Blakey brothers, Ronnie and Vaughn, enjoying their time in this practice session. Ron, how are things looking out there?
Oh, they look incredible, Joey. G'day, Rich. This has been unreal. Getting our first look at the surfers in a bit of swell, Vaughn, and it's been a few days.
It has been, and it's really interesting to see who's bringing what to this lineup in terms of energy and how they're attacking the waves, because Italo, of course, he only has one gear that's like foot to the floor and as hard as you can go. But yeah, I thought Carolyn Marks surfed with a lot of energy. As far as her standard is concerned, she probably hasn't surfed to what we know she's capable of. So really interesting to see her really get out there and go at it and make a statement. For me, watching Griffin Colapinto, he looked like he was really just feeling his board out, feeling the lineup. There was a kind of like maybe one moment, a real big backside slam in that warm-up session that hinted at sort of, okay, I'll let a little bit of the mongrel out of the cage here. But other than that, he was really calm, and it almost felt like he was just getting a vibe on all the other surfers in the lineup as well.
Most definitely. We know Kelly Slater's hanging around on Tavarua, but he was kind of the master at not showing too much of himself before he got to those big heats. And there's no bigger heats this year than what's going down here at the Lexus WSL Finals. And it just felt to me, Yago, Griffin, they were really pacing themselves. Even Gabby Bryan in that first heat compared to what we saw in the free surfs before the event window.
Yeah, Gabby Bryan has been impressive out here though in the warm-up session. She was in a real attack mode. She didn't want to be tentative on this wave and she was matching the power. I mean, when you talk about building through an event, I think Mick Fanning is probably one of the absolute masters of that. He could really just... His strategy was just like, do what needs to be done and then just keep ramping it up, turning the dial until you reach those finals. I think it says a lot about how on Yago is, considering it didn't actually look like he had his foot to the floor at all and he was still ripping the bag out there. Yeah. It's going to be wild watching him when he actually clicks over.
Yeah, Joey, Rich, it looks like there's a lot of speed in Jack Robertson's performance out there at the moment, but I think the surfers are saving themselves for the actual finals day, but still loving every bit of this warm-up.
100%. Thank you, Ronnie. Loving the chat with Vaughn out there as well. Loving all the clips you guys have been posting for the last few days. Ronnie and Vaughn have had up close and personal chats with the Final Five on the men and women's side, and you know, trying to pick up on anything they can find, noticing how the guys are maybe taking more space against each other than some of the women on tour. I also heard that Bettylou and Caroline Marks, since they know their matchup, they've actually given each other some space. But the others have kind of been hanging because they're not just staring at their names next to each other on the heat draw. Jack had a fun one. Here comes Jordy. And speaking of the Vissla CT Shaper rankings, I think Jordy had a record this year for getting points for multiple Shapers. You know, down the line from Mayhem as well. He contributed to that big title. He got points on his dad's board, points on JS Industries. As now we track down the line again, Katie Simmers on the surfboards from Chris Boris. They did a lot of work early for her quiver for all the heavy water waves on tour. So she had a lot of options. Chris told me before she had a lot of boards even that she didn't even get to ride last season that she kept in the mix just in case they'd come in handy this year.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? And we don't stop talking about the surfboards because it's such a focal point of all our competitors. You know, it's as a competitive surfer, it's such a major part of how you're feeling, the confidence that you're taking into every event. If the equipment under your feet feels good, that translates into the way you perform and how you can compete. You see here, this is Miley up and riding. Nice clean snap, stays tight in the pocket. Really sort of slow wave here, but yeah, it never stops. The work on the equipment never stops. The refinement and the little tweaks, and it might just only be a millimetre here or there, an adjustment of rocker just in the back half of the board. It really never stops, and you're always on the lookout for your number one soldier as a competitor. You know, you've got your board that is just your absolute favourite, depending on the conditions. See a little water angle here. Keep the good vibes flowing. Katie Simmers, she's got the world title already. So again, another one coming in without that kind of pressure of getting your first one. She's already there.
And it gets to the conversation, Richie, of best backhand tube riders on tour. You're kind of looking at them right now, Molly and Katie Simmers, especially when they met in the final, because they both charge. They've had finals at pipe, finals at chopes. You know, there's a lot of anticipation of a potential world title matchup between these two in pumping surf. And they have different styles and approaches completely. You know, where Katie feels like she's got that creative realm where everything's just so in the moment. And you broke down Molly, where everything's business. You know what she's doing. It's all planned, thoughtful, and she's going to grab that rail and put her head down and go. Yeah, exactly. A little bit more expressive and creative, like you were saying, in the way Katie likes to approach the wave. It's sort of reminiscent of Dane Reynolds. He always kept you guessing. But both of these women, without a doubt, have perfected the pig dog stance on your backhand. And we're talking about that technique where you sort of shift those shoulders forward, you grab your rail. There's different variations of it. You can let go, but it's very, very different and difficult in comparison to a frontside tube rider where you're facing the wave and everything's visible and it just feels natural. Whereas there's a little bit more involved in the technique of a backhand tube ride. And for me, Molly has it completely on lock. She's perfected it, and it's really showing through in her results. Watching Katie Simmers, instead, Bettylou having some fun in this heat, mixing it up with some backside turns. She got to surf with her mom, Shinobu, in Kittyland conditions the other day. Got some big longboards out and had some fun. That's where you know there's so much depth when you come to Fiji. There's obviously heavy water waves and really challenging ones, and then you can get your first wave of your life right where she was surfing with her mom just yesterday. What an opportunity for Bettylou, as we'll watch the Jordy Smith, 6'3", 200 pounds, throwing up a couple of warm-up hooks. Yeah, that was the first wave, at least that first turn that Jordy looked really crisp and engaged. Before then, a couple little slip-ups. Little snap to slide and then pulling up and under for Jack Robinson. Jack accomplishing the Bells Trophy this year over Kanoa Igarashi on that finals day. And then picking up his second victory when it mattered the most over at Tahiti, over Griffin Colapinto. It was a must-win situation for Jack that day. Some tough losses, man, throughout the year. I even think starting off the season at Pipe, getting a 10, one of the best rides of the entire season, but with a loss. And he spent more time than I'd seen him shaking that one off on the inside short break. Yeah, you know, those ones sting, especially the ones where you rock up and you're expected to do well. They're a pet event for you. And really, you know, every event these competitors go in not thinking, oh, it'd be great to make a quarterfinal or a semi-final. They've got one thing on their mind, and that's the win, you know. And there's a difference between those surfers that have that mindset and the ones that are just going in for a result. And every single one of these competitors, 10 competitors here on the men and women's side, they're thinking the win. As we talk about a scoring title in the regular season, that goes back to Molly Picklum by a long shot when you look at CT by the numbers. And this is very common for Molly, demanding more excellent scores than most throughout her years on tour. And even in the final, she lost to Katie, that famous one at Pipe. She had the highest count of numbers of scores going her way in that entire event by a long shot. Look at the separation between herself and Gabrielle O'Brien. And these totals, you're not counting the elimination round, and it's focused on your top two. in all the other rounds all the way to those finals. So an impressive year once again for Picklum.
Yeah, that's a big accumulation of numbers there. That just reflects a lot of high scoring, excellent rides. And you know, again, I was actually just fixated on that picture of Molly in the barrel there when we were talking about the pig dog stance. You know, that was just the perfect example of that composure and technique that she's perfected. And it's, for me, one of the hardest things in surfing is backhand tube riding and getting comfortable with it. So Molly in the box seat, 1 heat away from a world title, and will the pressure just unravel her? You know, these are all the stories we can't wait to watch unravel, but certainly she seems like, we saw her here over at Momi Bay Resort last night, came over and had a dinner with a boyfriend, and looked really cruisy, really calm.
Yeah, she looks like she's in the zone, you know, and kind of taking things her way. You know, she's been keeping her distance, you know, as much as she can over on the island, and just trying to pace herself, knowing that she's got the biggest day of her career in front of her with her biggest opportunity. And like you mentioned, big rule change this year. Molly can do it in 1 heat. If she wins that first title match, it's over, and she becomes a world champion. So right now she's just thinking it's 2 more waves, really, in her season. And if she could be on the bombs, it could be over. If the challenger wins, it goes to best out of 3, and big change for Molly. Is bringing over a guy named Mitch Ross.
Yeah, we know he's knows how to get a surfer to a world title. You know, previously coached Carissa Moore and various others on the tour. And yeah, got the call up. So he'll be passing on his knowledge here and bringing the good vibes as well. He's such a great guy, so knowledgeable, and really just keeps the spirits up. Keeps that confidence going through the surfers that he's working with.
Yeah, he's awesome. Incredible surfer. Great coach. Transitioned to, you know, in the real estate game, and actually helped Molly get an investment property. Next thing you know, she's like, hey, why don't you come to Fiji, help me win this world title. Here's fun wave through the inside. Nice rip in the pocket for the reigning world champ. She'll go down. But Katie has Molly's number, I guess, when you look at one-on-one heats over time. However, Molly's been changing things around this year. Getting that win over Katie at the last final of the regular season was huge. A lot of respect for each other. They actually spent a lot of time together in the lead up to the Lexus WSL Finals Fiji, presented by Corona Cero. We'll still enjoy this practice session number 2 with Molly, Jordy, Katie, Jack, and Bettylou. We'll bring in Flick and Kaipo to continue the conversation. We are on the beautiful island of Tavarua, straight up paradise. You've really got to earn your ticket here by being the top 5 in the world.
God bless you all, and best of luck to the competition.
We just wrapped up the Corona Cero opening ceremony. It was really wonderful to gather all the top 5 in the world together. There was beautiful dancing, beautiful music, and the surfers got to open up these special boxes with their jerseys based on their seed, which they'll wear when they compete for the world title.
That's the ticket out
The sun's dipping, everyone's cheering with their Corona Ceros to wrap up what's been a beautiful gathering party, as we know that the biggest day of the year is upon us. So everyone's gonna get some sleep, and we're gonna see some amazing things for pro surfing coming up. The Lexus WSL Finals Fiji, presented by Corona Cero, is brought to you by Tourism Fiji, strategic partner of the Lexus WSL Finals Fiji. By Corona Cero, made with 100% natural ingredients. By Bonsoy, official milk of the World Surf League. By Tavarua Island Resort, official legacy partner of the Lexus WSL Finals Fiji. And by Lexus, experience amazing.
Here we are with the warm-up sessions for the Lexus WSL Finals Fiji, presented by Corona Cero, flying over our Fiji flight cam over Cloudbreak. We're based here at the beautiful Marriott Resort Fiji. This is Momi Bay. That's Flick Palmentier, and a little bit of texture on the water right now. Swell is still around, great for the practice session, but I'm telling you right now, Flick, the breakfast buffet is 10 foot and glassy here.
Yeah, I just gave that thing a solid nudge. But yeah, it's beautiful here, and we've seen some great surfing already this morning out at Cloudbreak. Yes, it's a little bit smaller, but just such a good warm-up session to see where everyone's at, see who's feeling a little bit more feisty, a little bit more competitive, who's just taking a bit of a back seat and just like, you know, maybe not showing all their cards just yet.
Yeah, I like, you know, bodies in motion. And leading up to here, we had some inclement weather, and we didn't have a lot of swells, so there was a lot of time passing and doing other things. But it is on for the warm-up session. It's on for the over-the-water bures here at the Fiji Marriott Resort, Momi Bay. That's the luxury. Those are the luxury suites right there. You can see right to the bottom, see the fish feeding underneath. Of course, there's beautiful white sandy beaches all around the lagoon. Beautiful amenities, and a short boat ride out to this incredible wave of Cloudbreak as we take a look at Jack Robinson, just weaving down the line. Robbo probably feeling out a couple of his boards, and right behind him, Jordy Smith. Smith's snapping. I think Jordy's on a Paizel, a John Paizel shape, and John made 10 boards for Jordy for Fiji's. All from 6'2 to 6'8, Ghost and Next Step models. So Jordy's got a full quiver of Paisels here.
It's cool, right? I heard Joe and Rich talking about it before. You think about, you know, all the different shapers he's rode this year and the various points that's contributed to the Vissla shaper ranking. It's been cool, right? And I think, yeah, just seeing him on the Paisels, pretty sure he was on the Paisels as well at Chobes.
At Tahiti, yeah.
So, yeah, continuing with that momentum, obviously, really liking the way those boards are feeling.
He's got to take advantage of the boards this year.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
John comes back next year, I don't know if John's going to be shaping any more Jordy any more boards.
yeah, that's a good point. We'll see what happens there, but for now, I think, yeah, it's all working for Jordy. It's been an amazing year for him. I mean, just to see him with a shot to win a world title, you know, it really, I mean, he's been pretty open with it. You know, it's been a long time between drinks for him having such an amazing start to, you know, at the beginning of this year. He's had the 2 CT wins, and, you know, he's hungrier than ever, and he's like, this is the time, this is my time. And, yeah, the guy on tour with the most experience, oldest guy on tour now that Kelly's not on, and he's waving that flag and setting that bar, you know. I think, when I think about this wave too, I think it does lend itself to experience here and restaurants, and he's got experience out of restaurants too, so things, you know, shaping up well for Jordy.
Yeah, I mean, for someone like Jordy Smith, 18 years on the championship tour, this is his 168th CT event. Jack Robinson here, a little bit under that, this is going to be his 57th CT event here in Fiji. So you can see the veteran status of Jordy Smith. Hey, let's ring out into the water. Strider Wazalewski, what are you doing?
What's happening? Just kind of checking out Coach's Corner in here, watching the wind switch. Like, got this little curve in the reef, so you can't take off outside. You got that little ruffle on the lip line, and you get to the inside, it just goes offshore, and just like a putting green, you just right into the corner. Oh, it's looking fun out here right now. Let me tell you, pretty excited.
You hear any words from Bemi over there? I know he's in Jack Robinson's corner. He's right behind you.
No, yeah, Bemi said I could rub his head. I don't know if you guys saw in Tahiti that the whole family was rubbing his head before the heats, and it worked out for him. So I might get a little rub on it a little bit later, just if I need to catch a little swinger set over here or something, I'll give it a rub and I'll get one.
I love it. One of the more hydrodynamic heads in the world of surfing, Matt Bemrose.
Yeah, it's definitely the good luck charm, wasn't it, in Tahiti? And that run that we saw Jack go on was, I mean, incredible, right? It's the second time now that he's done that. He's had the carrot dangling at the end there, and he's just put the blinkers on, and he's gone it.
And Jack's been pretty open with, you know, coming into this finals and not having Leandro Dora in his corner, who has been his coach for all of the season. But, you know, there's really a conflict of interest when you're going for a world title. You know, Leandro just been a mentor to Jack and basically like almost adopted him as son, but like Leandro also has his actual son who's one heat away from a world title. So now, you know, Jack really leaning on Matt Bemrose as his support. Jack Robinson, you can see CT heat wins percentages at the top of the pack.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I think even just to expand on that, you know, I think it's a no-brainer, right? And I think, you know, obviously that is what was going to always happen. I think when you think about it though, he's you know, Bemi is someone who he's worked with for a really long time. We just see Jordy tucking into one there, but I mean, Bemi is someone who's been in his corner from a very long time now, you know, since the early days of him being on Volcom, and you know, that relationship is so strong. We've heard him talk about that. I mean, he was really present there in the channel at Chobes and throughout Jack's whole career, so he's still got that friendly, familiar, you know, Bemi right there in the channel. It's just like, he's going to have a lot of confidence.
And I don't think Jack necessarily needs an actual coach. What he needs is a friend, a sounding board, and a board caddy.
Totally.
And Bemi checks all those boxes.
Yeah, someone to hang out with, someone to have a bit of fun with, and as we see Molly.
Number 1 in the rankings, Molly Picklum, just feeling out the DHDs. Darren Handley celebrating 40 years of board building, by the way, this year. Pretty insane.
It is pretty insane. You think about, you know, all the greats that have rode the boards. I think Steph, I think Mick, you know, what they've done and, you know, together as a team has been incredible for DH. I mean, Ethan now currently as well, and now Molly really leading that charge this year. I mean, the back half of her year
incredible,
on tour,
right?
Absolutely incredible. As we, so, you know, just a replay here of that last wave, quick check off the top. But conditions are looking very tricky right now. I think, you know, we obviously know, we spoke about it earlier, it's going to be very different on game day, finals day. We're looking at a bigger swell at the end of the waiting period. So just feeling things out right now. And also, surfers probably haven't been surfing the last few days, you know, haven't had the feet in the wax. And when you're at that level and you take just 1 or 2 days off, you feel the difference, you know. It's kind of like the way you relate it to is, you know, your average surfer, if you have 2 weeks off and you don't surf, you're thinking, oh my goodness, like I feel out of shape, I don't feel connected. For these women and men, they have 1 day off, 2 days off, and they really notice the difference. So I think, you know, it's just like fun, the feet in the wax.
Yeah.
Haven't surfed, been leading into the fun side of the tour.
I think so, and also just keeping the body in motion, right? I mean, you may have been playing, you know, basketball and tennis and all the other stuff that's happening over there, you know, on Tavarua, but now getting back in your surfing muscles and get them engaged, and also get that tempo, right? Like, get your surf feet back on. And these are surfers that actually you're very sensitive to feeling all the equipment too, so a chance to feel out, you know, and kind of earmark a board perhaps, you know, before the actual game day.
Totally. I think, you know, we've seen a couple of board changes. We saw Italo earlier today, that first practice session, have a couple of changes. And, I mean, why not? Today's the perfect day to do it. We also, you know what, like, depending on when this event actually goes, there's a lot of swell, right? And if you look at the, you know, if you go on Surfline, you can have a look. But, you know, that first, second, third, fourth, there's a lot of swell. There's a lot of opportunity to choose from. They are going to get another chance to, you know, really sort of test that equipment when it gets a bit bigger too. So, I mean, you know, you're going to be happy with that, because right now what we're looking at is going to be completely different to what we look at on the actual game day.
Well, let's hear, you know, how the warm-up sesh went with Caroline Marks. Caroline's with Ronnie.
Hello, Marks. Just straight on the boat after her first warm-up session. Good to see some swell, Caroline, after a few days cruising in paradise.
Yeah, it was really fun to surf today. I came a bit early for the last swell and surfed a ton, so it was nice to have a couple of days off, but I started to get pretty antsy. I was like, all right, I want to get back in the water, so yeah, it felt nice to get out there, line up to ourselves, and it's beautiful. Even when it's small, it's like so much fun. There's so much power behind the waves, so we had a good time out there.
Most definitely. Talk to me about your mindset. You come in already as a world champion, as a gold medalist, coming into another world title showdown. What's your feeling? Is it way more relaxed than your maiden world title run?
Yeah, I guess it's coming in like not as number one. You're kind of here to be someone's nightmare a little bit, to snag another one. So I feel like I've been super present, which has been a really good feeling, and just kind of focusing on the now. But yeah, for sure. I mean, your first one, they say, is like the hardest one to get. But, you know, in saying that, I want more. So I'm like, I know the position I'm in, and I know it's super possible. So I'm going to try everything I can to get it. Yeah.
Most definitely. And what about this as a location to crown a world champion? It's very unique. First time we would have seen it in Fiji, obviously, and, you know, 2 of the best waves in the world at our disposal. Do you have a preference on where this thing goes down?
To be honest, I've served Cloudbreak way more than restaurants, but as we know, like, you know, it'd be really cool to have it at restaurants for like viewership purposes, and restaurants is like such an incredible wave. I think Cloudbreak's more of like a bigger playing field, but I think either or we have really good options. But yeah, compared to like Trestles, it's such a different vibe, you know, it's kind of like you against the ocean. So we'll see what happens, but either way, I mean, it's an incredible venue, and all the Fijians are so nice and so welcoming, so just really happy to be here. Like you said earlier, it's paradise.
Talk to me about just reconnecting with your equipment, because that last swell was quite solid and you got a lot of surfing done. How did it feel out there this morning?
Yeah, it felt super good. I got a bunch of new boards from Matt, so we worked really hard on boards with waves of consequence and stuff, and I feel like they just came out really well. So I'm super stoked. I feel like it's up to me now, just kind of put my head down and get the right waves and do my best surfing.
You've come from sort of a lower seed and gone on to get yourself a world title in the past, and I heard you say, overheard you say at a table the other night, you're ready to take up the role as the dream ruiner. Is that true?
That's true, yeah, that's what I'm here for. Yeah.
Well, best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah, Caroline Marks, we're going to see her in match 1 on finals day up against Bettylou Sakura Johnson. And really interesting when they look to their head-to-head matchups between the two of them. They've matched up 8 times in their career. 5 of those times, Sakura took out the victory there. 3 of those times, Caroline. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for Caroline to start off with.
Totally. We also spoke about it on that morning show. You know, you think about the years they've had, and I think Joe was mentioning, you know, Bettylou, 17 excellent scores, Caroline 1, I think, the whole year, right? And when you put that together and you talk about rhythm, momentum, I mean, definitely right now, stats are saying Bettylou. But then the other stats, I mean, you look former world champ, Ronnie mentioned it, Olympic gold medalist, been here before. And, I mean, as we see Jack just a little up and down, looking loose.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, exactly. So you have a veteran coming up against Bettylou, who may have the bigger numbers, but the numbers, you know, like those analytics always don't work out. With Bettylou, however, versus Caroline, if we look at just in the context of this season, 2025, they've matched up 3 times. 2 times has gone to Sakura, just 1 time to Caroline. So even in their recent history, the analytics are still shifting over to Sakura Johnson.
Yeah, I think also, you know, I think about this way, but I know Caroline's won at some crazy locations. I mean, Chopes being one of them, and the Olympic gold came from there as well, and CT win. But when you think of those big moments on tour, that we've had those progression moments in waves of consequence with women, Bettylou's been at that forefront, and I know Caroline's been wanting to be a part of that conversation, right? But if you think about I know when she just hasn't maybe necessarily been in those situations to grab that opportunity, I'm talking about Caroline, but Bettylou's had those opportunities. She's really seized it. You know, I think about that one heat she had with Molly Picklum, the semi-final at Pipe, and what she was able to do out there with Molly, and they really rose that bar. But I think it's going to be a really good matchup. I think, you know, Bettylou and Caroline, both very assertive surfers in the water, and I think Bettylou knows, you know, this is her first opportunity at a world title, and the fact that she's fighting there, I mean, I just know she's going to be fired up. But also Caroline, that little insight we heard from Ronnie, you know, I'm here to be someone's worst nightmare. Yeah. And I think just with her level of comfortability on the forehand, what she's already done and achieved in her career could be quite deadly, being the only goof in the draw.
Yeah, and really, I mean, we've had this conversation, and we're going to continue to talk about it until we actually know what the playing field is going to be. Will it be Cloudbreak? Will it be restaurants? Both are on the table right now. We're eyeing up that window from the 1st to the 4th of September. And yeah, so that's also going to, you know, really play into who's going to have the advantage. The Big Brew. I feel Jordy Smith, that's got to be everyone's like emotional kind of pick for a world title. Just after all this time, 2-time runner-up to a world title, and just a man I feel that is due a world title.
Yeah, I think, you know, everyone wouldn't be mad if, you know, everyone's going to be happy if Jordy wins. I mean, everyone is a contender. I mean, there's 10 people there that are absolutely deserving, but the story of Jordy Smith and his career and what we've seen from him, and, you know, the prodigy child from the very beginning, you know, I think back to the early days when he was on Quicksilver, the Young Guns movies, saw him coming out, you know, just absolutely flaring, and then, you know, the qualifying for the tour, and just the trajectory of his career, it really would be a beautiful way to bookend it, you know.
And another surfer, you know, after two third in the world finishes in 2023, 2024, could it be Griffin Colapinto's year? I don't know. We'll find out. But let's hear from Griffin as he got out of the water after his warm-up session.
Okay, Griffin, mate, how was it to get back out in the water after a few days of just cruising on the island?
Oh, it felt good. Yeah, really good. I don't think we surfed for like 3 or 4 days there, so yeah, it was nice to see it bump up and have like a couple even barrels. So yeah, it was fun.
Awesome, man. And the build-up to this WSL Finals has been so different, I'd imagine, to last year. What's been the positives that you've taken away from it?
Probably, yeah, it's cool to be kind of in this like isolation bubble, you know, because the last couple of years was, for me, it was at my home, and it was so crowded and just like people coming and going all day long. So, you know, this is kind of nice. You get a peace of mind and just like beat to your own drum. And like, I mean, for a few days, I forgot I was even here to compete for a world title. So I feel like that's a good mindset to be in. And I like when I find myself feeling that way. So yeah, it's a good deal.
That's true, man. And Ronnie and I were saying, though, you know, like there was that feeling of just chilling out and enjoying Fiji and all the wonders of the place. But after last night, it did feel like the flick kind of switched. The switch kind of flicked a little bit. And yeah, you pull on that rash vest and you realise you're here for a big job.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, even like today, you know, we're out there with our fellow competitors who there's a great chance that we're all going to be competing against each other. And yeah, it's just funny, you know, you can feel that like no one wants to talk to each other or look at each other. It's just like get your waves and surf your waves and focus on that. But yeah, it's all good. And yeah, we're fired up.
Game on, mate. Thanks so much for your time. I know you got to race and get the boat, but yeah, have another great practice session this summer.
Hell yeah, it's on.
Thanks.
Yeah, Griffin Colapinto. I mean, wow, Griffin's here. Talk about the comeback kid. 17th at Pipe, 9th in Abu Dhabi, another 17th in Portugal. El Salvador finding himself way below that mid-season cut. Was able to have a great run through Australia, survived that mid-season cut, and then since that mid-season cut has made every single finals day in the last 4 events of the regular season.
Yeah, that was an incredible turnaround, right? I think we all saw the vision. It was visible on his face, the desperation, the disappointment, and to be like, hang on a second, like how can I go from being 3rd in the world, you know, all this momentum to be having one of the worst starts to my season so far? I think maybe for me though, that was sort of my favourite moment, is watching him turn that around in Australia and watching him kind of get fired up by it, because I mean we were talking about it. I mean it was one of the topics, you know. I mean let's talk about Griff because he's below that cut line. This is not where he's usually being, and like hearing that chatter, that narrative. Okay, like I've heard it, like, and then he just flicked it, and it was pretty incredible because, I mean that's what really makes a great athlete, a great human, someone who's really, you know, in that kind of scenario and able to flick that switch like Lawson.
Yeah, he's incredible. Katie Simmers catching up with Tommy Whitaker here in the channel. And this is, I feel this is another kind of important part about these practice sessions, is that there's no pressure. So the surfer can paddle over to their coach and kind of get a download like, hey, what are you seeing? What can I improve upon? You know, like how does my biomechanics look? How does my body positioning look? How does the board look? I mean, all of that conversation happening there in the channel.
Well, this is free surf essentially, and I mean with no one else out in the lineup, which is amazing, as we see Bettylou. But it is a free surf, right? And if these guys and women were out here free surfing, this is what they'd be doing. They'd be coming into the channel, they'd be coming to the boat, they'd be getting, you know, download from their coach. Whether it be on a reef break or a beach break, they're doing that same thing, and it's cool because we're seeing it live, right?
Yeah, and I feel it's a little more comfortable with just the CT surfers in the lineup. That way you can go into the channel, talk a story, and not worry about 20 other people going deeper than you up the reef, and you have to battle with the entire crowd, you know. So this is actually, I feel, for the surfers, this is a valuable time so that you can really focus in. When you got, like, hey, look at, when you only have 4 other surfers, you can put your spot, you can pick your spot on the reef and figure out the reef and figure out your spots on the reef.
Totally. I think, look, yes, there's this level of seriousness today. We heard Griff speak about it, but they all have a level of respect for each other too. And when there's only 5 in the water, you know, a warm-up surf traditionally before a CT is pretty nuts. I mean, you've got the best surfers in the world all jostling, but there is that somewhat level of respect for each other. And the lineup sort of figures out itself. And I mean, you can see right now there's plenty of space out there. It's a big playing field.
Have we seen anyone cut someone off yet today?
No. Everyone's playing very nicely.
All right. Maybe later.
Yeah.
We got 21 minutes.
So good.
I mean, it is a frank conversation, but what a mind game would that be?
Well, look, we can talk about mind games. There's been plenty of them in the surf industry over the years.
Here's a guy with a pretty strong mind himself. He knows how to switch it on, switch it off. Jack Robinson, and he's going to be making some, equipment choices as well. Does he go with the Sharp Eye? Does he go with the Arakawa? Where is he going to go with that? I think right now he's on a Sharp Eye for the kind of the more, smaller day. But will there be a change with the expected swell?
Well, I'd like to think so. You just think about, Chopes. He's riding the Erics.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's bigger, Sunset, when that was on the schedule, you got Pipe, Backdoor. I think traditionally that that's sort of his game plan.
I don't know if he's used them yet, but Eric Arakawa actually gave me a pair of special fins to deliver to Jack, and but I don't know if he's using them. But like Eric swore by these fins, a brand new fiberglass setup from Futures in the Arakawa template, and Eric called me, and I drove out to the Bettylou sugar mill there, and fins are easy to pack. Look, Muling boards, that's a whole different ask. But I'll take fins for anyone, anywhere in the world. No problem. I got you guys.
Yeah, fins are an easy one. Leashes, they're fine. Let's take up a bit more.
All right, hey, it's action at the bar. This phone in to Tavarua Island. I think we got a guest out there. Brett Simpson, how's it going?
What's up, guys? How are you?
We're really good. Really, really good. What are you seeing out there today?
It's actually really fun. It's, on the smaller side, but I think we've seen some pretty good highlights. I was out there earlier with Gabby and watching the rest of the guys and girls surf. It's pretty good waves. You can see the crew in the background right there. Caroline, Mikey, Gabby's over there. You got Mayhem right here, Biola. So, yeah, it's I don't know, it's been pretty, the waves are smaller, but the performances, I think, have been up, and it's a good little warm-up day.
Yeah, and what's kind of been the conversation between you and Gabby in preparation?
Yeah, look, about a month or two ago, she's like, hey, would you want to come to Fiji? And, just obviously sitting in her corner, she's had such an amazing year. And it's an honor to be here kind of helping out. And her equipment's, she's been great all year dialing in equipment, and she's been here for a little over a week. Got to surf that last swell. So, yeah, it's more just, headspace, having fun together, and, letting all the pieces kind of fit as they go.
What's the vibe been over there in Tavarua? What's the vibe been on the island?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm staring at a bar full of alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. It's been awesome. I mean, Roseman, all the owners here, the people that work here are so friendly and nice. We had the ceremony last night, and it's definitely a special place. And I think everyone's starting to, the mood has, I will say, today kind of started and the mood switched a little bit. I think everyone's starting to kind of click in, and there's a little more intensity going on. So, yeah, I think everyone's pretty excited. There's a lot on the line in the next few days whenever this thing runs, and everyone's starting to kind of find that edge.
Yeah, I like that. I like when the switch comes on. Hey, you know what, too, Simple? It's never too early for Corona Cero, by the way. There's 0% ABV. They're all natural ingredients. It's 10:40. It's 10:40 local time here in Fiji. I think that's Corona Cero 30.
It is. It's kind of never too early. I think I might take a regular Corona.
Next levels with Brett Simpson. Oh, man. Well, thank you for catching up with us, and we hope that we can continue this talk back and forth and getting some insight from all the people in all the surfers' corners. Thanks for catching up with us.
See you guys soon. Enjoy.
What a legend, Brett Simpson.
That was good. That was funny.
He's a great surfer. He's really high heat IQ and really articulate,
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to see him working with Gabby, I think. Obviously, Gabby now choosing different coaches at different events, and Brett lots of experience, like you said too. Strategy-wise, heat IQ. It's going to be rad.
Yeah. Gabby actually really in a good position too. I feel, you know, when you look at where she is at the number 2 seed, because it's almost like that match number 3 is going to be something that could be a momentum builder for Gabby Bryant.
Totally. I think it's so crazy how you look at this number 1 seed, right? Is it an advantage you've only got 2 waves away from a world title, or is it a disadvantage watching everyone come up through and gain that momentum? And I think when you talk about the conversation of either Cloudbreak or restaurants on the women's side, I mean, I think Gabby might have had a little bit of experience out of there, spending time with Brisa, you know, in the past on Namotu, Caroline maybe as well, but everyone's going to be figuring this out on the fly, right? Because if it is to go there on that day, you may be thinking that running with that momentum could be a good thing, right?
That's what I feel. You know, you're in that number 2 seed position. You start match number 3 with priority. You execute on that first kind of half of the heat. You take a win there. Now you're going into the title match with steam behind you. And number 1, Molly Picklum has just been watching the whole day, watching everybody coming through all the performances. And sometimes it's hard to switch on, you know, from a cold start. So Gabby Bryant, actually, like when I look at the draw, is kind of in a good position. But the best position you want to be in is right here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's why she's in yellow, right? You're 2 waves away. It's the best position to be, no doubt. But it just depends on where her head's at. And look, I'd say her head's in a pretty good position. Yeah. You know, you'd think, we mentioned it already, the back half of the year has been incredible, hasn't really missed a finals day. You know, event wins, multiple event wins. I mean, what she was able to do at Chopes was incredible, I think. And, you know, it's going to be barreling. It's going to be big if it's at Cloudbreak or restaurants. And we just saw what Molly was capable of. So she's in a great position.
Robinson. Yeah, and things are, you know, getting a little more challenging out there for the surfers. You can see when it's even the best surfers in the world are just like chasing down sections. It's a little tough, but you got the body moving, you got the shoulders moving, you got the knees, the ankles, loosen the hips.
Yeah, I think
positive ions in the South Pacific salt water. And we'll take a look at, you know, Molly Picklum and her record against the rest of the field. When we look at head-to-head in the final 5, well, there she is. 2 out of 6. I mean, honestly, when you look at this, coming up against, you know, either Gabby Bryant or Katie Simmers, both Gabby and Katie, with a winning percentage over Molly when we looked at head-to-head matchups.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? I think, obviously, the name that stands out there to me is Katie. They've had that crazy rivalry, right? We've seen it play out, you know, over the last couple of years. I think they both bring out the best out of each other. You know, they had the iconic final at Pipeline, Backdoor, you know, and I think, yeah, we saw that rematch. I mean, it was deja vu, you know, 2 weeks ago at Chopes. And even though I don't think, as we see, Sakura just belt that left, but I just don't think the heat total there was sort of representation of really what went down, because, you know, I think Katie only had this like small heat total, but it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, if she packed this one wave, I mean, that if she was coming out of that thing, it would have been a 10. And I just think, yes, like those stats are pretty cool to look at, but yeah, Molly and Katie have this crazy rivalry, and to think, you know, I mean, Katie's got to get through that first, her matchup first, to sort of have a couple of matchups to really have a chance at matching up with Molly.
Yeah.
But the stats are interesting.
Yeah, so Katie 6 wins over Molly, Molly 2 wins over Katie, but the interesting part is those 2 wins, Molly over Katie, have happened in the last 2 times they've matched up. So has Molly kind of like figured out the puzzle of Katie Simmers, given those recent stats? I'm talking about the semifinals and trestles and that Tahiti final.
Yeah, well, it's just an illustration of the back half of the year. That's what it is. I mean, hasn't missed a final series. I mean, a couple of event wins. It's pretty incredible, right? I think it speaks to her momentum. It speaks to where she's at right now. I think, at the beginning of the year for Molly, I mean, she had a great start of the year too. I think her worst result was a 9th all year, right? I think.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, it's an incredible year, but her squad that she's had around her, I mean, you can see Austin, her boyfriend, right now in the lineup.
Yes, boys.
Yep, boys. But she's had a great squad around her, and I think also working with Ben Crow as well on the psychology side, and you know, she's got Fletch here, manager. She's got like this real good team that she's really nutted out, and I think this has been the year for Molly that she's come into her own, similar to Yago, where they've been like, you know what, I need to do some growing myself, I'm going to figure things out, and turns out that it's worked out really well for both of them.
And I'm looking at her heat totals on those last 2 matchups with Katie this season. They both were excellent heat totals. 16.37 at that semifinal for Molly Picklum. She went excellent there at Trussels. Tahiti, bonkers. 17.26. Way into the excellent range for Molly Picklum.
No.
The big brew. Number 23, Jordan Michael Smith, trying to get fancy there, but the wind just took away that Paizel. That Doug on the way down. You know Doug? Doug Rail.
Doug Rail. Kaivo. I haven't had enough coffee for that. Things are not firing.
One of those
Hopefully,
old dad jokes coming at you.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry,
also, like, things are operating a bit slow around here. Like, I should have picked up on that.
It's all good.
This is why we're practicing today, Kaivo.
Yes.
We're practicing for the big show.
Yes.
And then we'll be better.
Next time I do my dad joke, you'll catch it first time.
Yeah.
I apologize for the cheesiness this morning. We're under 10 minutes for this warm-up sesh for Molly Picklum. Jordy Smith, Katie Simmers, Jack Robinson, and Sakura Johnson. After this, we're going to get into our Fiji heats. So local Fijian men and women, the top local surfers will be showing their stuff out here at Cloudbreak.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I think I'm excited for both the men and the women, but I'm really, really excited for the women. I think, you know, to have this standalone heat with these 4 women out here is going to be really cool. I mean, I try and, you know, I was actually speaking to Hannah Bennett before and, you know, asking her, like, has there ever been a time when there's just been an all-women's heat out here? And she said this will probably be the first. So
wow.
It's going to be really cool.
So we're making history today.
Yeah, it's going to be
nice.
cool.
One for the books. Well, we've hit pretty much this. So as we look at the tides, and there's only about a 2-foot tide change right now on the charts. We're at high tide. So this is as pretty much as deep as Cloudbreak's going to get, which is still pretty shallow on the inside.
No, it's super shallow. I think it's so shallow. And I think also we're moving into the neap tides, right? I mean, if you want to get technical, there's, you know, 2 sort of moments that happen throughout the month. You've got the springs and you've got the neaps. And the spring tides, there's just a bigger difference in the high and the low. Right now we're moving into the neaps, less difference between that high and low point.
Yeah.
And but there's still not much water in that.
Less of a coefficient, but you know, with beach breaks, you know, whether it's the South Pacific or North Pacific, you know, in Hawaii, reef breaks, a couple of feet, especially if we look at what's going to happen potentially at restaurants, is a big deal. 2 feet, like sometimes there's only 2 feet of water to start with.
Well,
so you take away those 2 feet,
and then it's dry.
Yeah.
But I think somewhere like restaurant, it is a good conversation to have because it is good that we're moving into these neaps, right? We're going to have less difference between that tide, so potentially more run time. That's what you want. We
can run through the whole day there, I feel, with like you said, with the neap tide, with less of a coefficient between the high and the low.
Yeah, it's good news. But yeah, it's sharp out there. It's super sharp. I've been for a snorkel once and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
This is super shallow. Haven't surfed it, but it looks amazing.
You spent a lot of time. You've spent some time out here. I've seen your footage out here at Cloudbreak, though. So tell us a little bit about like your personal experience out here.
You know what? I've been to Fiji a lot, but more on the Coral Coast and surfed there. I've only surfed cloudy twice. Once when it was really small like this, and once when it was pretty solid. There was a couple of, you know, waves hitting that outer ledge, and it was solid. You know what I will say is even on a day like this, and when we've heard some of the surfers talk about it, it's small, it's so powerful, right? The Pacific Ocean is just something else, and I think if we do run out here on the day, it is going to be pretty crazy because we're going to see some serious surf go down, some serious moments, and people are going to have to push themselves over the limit.
All right. Here's Chase Slatter. We're going to see him a little bit later when we talk about the Fijian competition.
And this guy right here is someone who has really pushed the limits when it gets big. I mean, those big days, you think, you know, when those moments that are just burned into your brain, those crystallized blue big barrels. I mean, this guy has been all over it. Sort of setting that bar, and, you know, for people like James as well in that next heat coming up to look up to. And yeah, I mean, if you just go on his Instagram, you can have a look at some of his highlight clips and his photos. I mean, it's incredible. So he's been out here in all kinds of conditions, you know. He knows this wave back to front.
It's cool to see the local surf community and culture develop with exposure to international competition. Fiji, you know, kind of really developing, I feel like maybe the real first kind of generation of guys like that are making a mark. We already seen that evolution in another place in the South Pacific, in Tahiti. We've already seen that evolution there. And a lot of that happened was because of the exposure of the annual World Surf League events there that really gave inspiration to the local surf community, and that elevated their surfing.
Totally. I think, you know, having this exposure and just the realization, you know, that it is a viable career path too, you know, to be a professional surfer, and there's opportunity there is, yeah, it's awesome to see as we see Jack.
Couple of snaps on the backhand, looking quick. Jack Robinson, watch the fins. Oh, we're going to see Jack Robinson open up in match number 1 as we look at our Lexus WSL Finals Fiji brackets. I'm not going to make you do any picks, Flick, but let's just go over these different matches.
For me, it all comes down to the location of where we run as to what's going to happen. But match 1 is going to be amazing. We spoke about it in the morning show, just the rivalry these two have, Jack and Italo. It's going to be cool, obviously. You know, match number 2, Griff gets whoever's the winner there. Moving on to Jordy, who all the experience in the world at both locations. And then you got your final boss, Yago Dora. And then on the women's side, guys.
Women's sides, Groovy Foot against Regular Foot, going to start us off in match number 1. Then coming up against, the winner will come up against a really dangerous Katie Simmers. I think when we look at the skill set, she's going to be one of the favorites here. Gabriella Bryant, she's new to this. She's going to be in match number 3. You get through Gabby, then you get your chance to go against the number 1 ranked Molly Picklum. Molly Picklum, 2 good waves away from a world title, and there's Pickles right there getting back on the Red Bull athlete boat.
Pickles calling it a day. 4 minutes left on the clock. She's done. She's out of there.
James. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Mitchell Ross coming through, and nice greetings on the boat. Want to make it back in Tavarua in time for lunch. It's 11:56 local time. And a little bit of overcast skies right now on Cloudbreak. I actually like it a little bit, keeps it a little bit cooler. You can bake out there. The UV index not as high, so.
Had a real mixed bag of weather. I think we're going to move into a little bit of a better patch though, it seems.
Yeah. So we look at local weather forecasting. A lot of times we look at the palm fronds. And if palm fronds are moving really fast, that means it's windy. If the palm fronds are shaded, that means it's overcast. Wet palm fronds means there's rain.
Does it just?
Yeah.
I'm understanding these dad jokes.
Bright green palm fronds means the sun is out. Flick.
Okay, that's good. That's a good indicator. I'll be remembering that.
That's island style weather coming to you.
And you know when you want to get on the phone, you get on the coconut wireless.
There you go. Now you're getting.
I'm catching up.
Now you're getting the spirit of things. Well, we got 2.5 minutes to joke around right now in these warm-up sessions. All the surfers taking advantage of the time and taking advantage of their time with their coaches, feeling out their boards, their fins, all the good stuff. Jordy Smith, he's always having a good time. I mean, it's been a couple of years. It's been a few years on the tour that it's just been kind of like the Jordy, the one-man good time. Always making jokes, always lighthearted. Even when he had losses, he would shake them off so quickly. This guy, 18 years on the championship tour, and he is just a jewel when you're talking about personalities in professional surfing.
It's good because this year we've just seen this Jordy that he's probably always been there, but I think when you've done that many rodeos and been in that many you know, situations, experiences, you're just like, yeah, I've been here, I've done that, I've seen this, I've seen that. Nothing really is going to faze you too much. It's kind of like, but it's really fun because he's been in this commanding position that I think he's just leaning into it a bit more, and it's great.
And speaking of jokes, I'm going to tell you right now, Jordy Smith, he's got some zingers right there. I feel like he could almost do his own stand-up routine if he really wanted to. Katie Simmers tossing around that Porsche design. And our surfers just about a minute away from taking a break, where we're going to get into our Fiji heats. Going to be coming up next. And we will have, for the Fiji heats, they will be judged. So we will have a winner for both the men and the women, and we'll have that awards presentation at the conclusion of the day today. And another look at high tide Cloudbreak.
It looks a lot different to low tide. I mean, high tide, you can kind of get away with it if you end up on that inside section. Low tide, you go past a certain little rock that likes to stick its head out, I mean, you're sort of in trouble, and you're doing a lagoon trip. You go on a lagoon tour, you're doing the whole paddle around. It's, if you don't have that jet ski assist. But yeah, it's a very different playing field right now. Conditions have obviously changed a little bit since this morning, but you can just see how big it is, right? I mean, it essentially is a point break. You can sit even further up the reef if you really wanted to. You can see someone sort of having a paddle right now. But yeah, it's a massive jack just sitting right up the top of the point break. But it's just so big, right? And then you've obviously got the shish kebab section right down the end as well. But great day to feel it out, Kaipo.
What's that?
Great day to feel it out.
Yeah, it is. After, some quiet days, we got a nice practice session happening here, and the surfers all having their chance to warm up a little bit. Let's hear about Molly. Let's hear from Molly Picklum. She's straight out of the water, just warmed up. She's with Vaughn.
World number one, Molly Picklum, has just come in from the first official practice session. How are you feeling, Molly?
Yeah, feeling good. Just waking up. I think we've been on island time, so I saw a few. We were all kind of falling bits and pieces, and I'm just coming out of sickness, so I'm just trying to build the energy for the big day ahead.
Yeah, it's been a nice relaxing week on the island. I know you had a little bit of a cold there that you were battling, but how nice did it feel after a week of being just, sort of a bit landlocked with no waves around to just wash it all off in the ocean just then?
Yeah, it was so nice. And before this wind came, it was so pretty. I was like nearly too hot because I thought it's always windy out here. So it was super, super nice to just get in the water. And the tunes were playing. The Fijians love some good music. They're blaring it into the channel. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. Go back.